Welcome to the After Review, the review that happens after reviews. Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy. Now, I'm not gonna lie, like everybody, I thought this game was gonna be really bad when I first saw the trailers, but I'm surprised to say that this game was amazing. And I find this quite poetic in some sense, as the Guardians of the Galaxies are misfits, and the game was a misfit. But in the end, like the Guardians, it managed to pull through and show us what it's capable of. Now, in terms of the story, this is going to be quite quick. It is on par with Marvel Spider-Man. I don't care what people have to say about this. This is my opinion. This is my review. If you don't agree, then you can comment on it. But that's just my personal opinion. I would say that this story is a 10 out of 10 and better than the movies actually, especially if you're a comics fan, as it follows more in line with the comics, especially in terms of Star-Lord's origin and the Guardians' origins. But then that's just my personal preference. Now, in terms of the gameplay, it's very good overall, and the trailers really didn't do justice for it. Though I do have some issues with it, as for example, in terms of the dialogue, sometimes you'll walk 2 steps while a character is saying something, and then we'll just cut and move on to something else that has to do with the story, and that really annoyed me because characters talk constantly in this game, and they'll tell you about the lore of the story and the background in terms of what happened before the games, like the war. On the other hand, in terms of the combat, the game is pretty good at balancing the use of Star-Lord's abilities and the Guardians, as Star-Lord isn't powerful in this game. Like, you can't just instant kill every enemy just by yourself. You have to use the Guardians constantly. And there are some sections in the game where you'll be sometimes alone with Peter, and you'll see how like powerless you are compared to when you're with the Guardians. And that's why the game really forces you to use them all the time. And to be fair, I've seen a few reviews that said that's quite complex. I don't think so, though. A nitpick I do have is I do feel that some of the abilities that the Guardians use, like in terms of, for example, like Rocket and Drax, you won't use all of their abilities all the time. I mainly used the grenades with Rocket, and I didn't really use any others of his abilities. So that's something I was quite annoyed about. But apart from that, I do feel that the gameplay overall is quite balanced and enjoyable throughout the game, and the way you get the new abilities is quite balanced and quite well timed as well in terms of when you get them, so you're not overpowered at the beginning or too powerful at the end. Now, in terms of the decisions that you make throughout the game, I found it quite interesting, as all the decisions you take do have consequences, and some of them don't really have major consequences, but you won't know that until the end of the game, basically. Although the game will tell you in a small text box that will appear on the top right whether your choice had a consequence or not. So, for example, like in this scene right there, you can either ally yourself with Corel or Nikki, and if you decide to ally yourself with Nikki, for example, she will give you her pass. This is early on in the game, so it's not really spoilers, and this will have consequences later in the game. But at this point, you won't know that, and there are several decisions like that that you take throughout the game. So this is something I really enjoyed throughout the game, because I didn't know whether my decisions will have a big impact or a small impact. And the game really doesn't hold your hand in terms of the decision you have to make, and it won't give you any hints in terms of whether your decisions are right or wrong. So you really need to improvise with the consequences afterwards, and that's what makes it fun, essentially, because there is no right or wrong answer. Overall, I think what Square Enix did with Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy is amazing, and that should be picked up if you were thinking about picking it up and weren't sure because of the trailers, or because you were deterred because of Marvel's Avengers. It's not Marvel's Avengers. It's its own thing. It's completely different. The decisions they took to make you only be able to play as Star-Lord was the right decision. And I think actually they should have done this a similar concept with the Avengers game, which would have made it better, I think. Now, let's talk about the star of the game, so to say, the soundtrack. The soundtrack of this game is amazing. And honestly, I feel bad for YouTubers that uh, do a walkthrough of this game simply because they can't listen to that amazing soundtrack. I mean, from musics like Take On Me and It's the Final Countdown, the timing in terms of when they use it and how they use the music is simply amazing. And they use it even better than in the movies. I have no words on how to describe it, honestly. It was amazing. I laughed so many times. I had so much fun playing this game. Overall, I would give it a solid 8, maybe 9. Not 10 because I do feel that there are improvements to be made about the game if they do decide to make a sequel, which it looks like, considering how people are talking about it, is highly probable. But anyway, I will leave it to you at that. I hope you enjoyed the video. Do leave it a like and subscribe if you want. Thank you, and have an awesome day.